Hello. Welcome back to Good Germs Off-Road Adventures and part 3 of 3, the final part of the video compilation series. This is the full build video series on Billy Badass, our 2003 Polaris Sportsman 700 Twin. In the last video, you know, we installed the exhaust and got it all the way to the point where we did a first ride. Found a couple of things. So now we're going to start this particular part, the final part, starting to look at some of the bugs, issues, get it out for another ride where we actually get a bit technical, get it on some rocks, kind of ride the out of it, if you know what I mean. Then maybe we get into fixing that front gear case differential four-wheel drive system so we make it four-wheel drive instead of 2.5-wheel drive. That would be fantastic. Anyway, y'all know YouTube likes consistency, and that's what this is all about. We're just trying to fill the gaps where maybe life, the day job, vacations, who knows. Maybe something got in the way where we couldn't make a video and get it out, and that's what we've made these compilations for. Appreciate you being here. Put it on in the shop, maybe just have it on in the background. But anyway, let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to Good Germs Off-Road Adventures. Welcome back to the shop and welcome back to Billy Badass, our 2003 Sportsman 700 from Polaris. If you watched the last video on this, you know, we took it out to Johnson Valley, Lucerne Valley, gave it a shakedown. Me and Seth took our turns, you know, riding on this and Darth and compared them because they're not really comparable because that made a lot of sense. Anyway, we have a couple of bugs to work out. We've got a starter that needs to be replaced, probably the Bendix as well. We've got to fix the heat wrap on the exhaust. It's kind of come off and we had to cut some of that out. And now there's just a hose clamp just dangling back down there, making some racket. We're going to go ahead and change the belt. I suspect it could be slipping. I don't know if it is, but we're going to change it anyway because at this point, this is 2025 and that makes the quad going on 22 years old. Yeah. And just give it an overall look-see. How does it look? Is the power steering motor, is it still not touching the gas tank? Because that is something I am kind of a little bit worried about, given that people have had to do a little grinding on there and I did not. Probably check the oil, see what that looks like. Hopefully it still looks good. Check the transmission fluid. We did have issues with the front diff on this. If you remember, it was intermittently going in and out of four-wheel drive, which is kind of not the way they're supposed to work. I'm not going to do anything about that today because, well, we're getting ready for King of Hammers and I don't have the time to pull that thing out and disassemble it and rebuild it. We're just not going to use four-wheel drive while we're out there. Should be fine. I'm going to go ahead, get this thing up on a lift, get the floorboards pulled off both sides so we get access to the clutch cover on this side and the stator cover on the other side, which is where the flywheel is and the starter Bendix, and get the airbox pulled out, get the starter out. I'll catch up with you after the intro when all of that is done. Stick around. Well, you can sort of tell by looking at it that we've got floorboards out, air boxes out, seats over there. Anyway, we're able to go ahead and look at this thing and see what's going on. I think I'm just going to go ahead and start with checking the oil since it's right there and it's easy to get to. And we'll see if there's any surprises in there. I'm hoping not, you know. I didn't notice when we were riding this thing that it was burning any oil. I never smelled anything like that. And I didn't see any under the engine anywhere indicating that we had any sort of oil leaks or anything around anywhere on the engine that indicates an oil leak. But we're going to go ahead and check it because these are definitely known for getting a bit of a warped head, blown head gasket, and well, you know what happens there. So let's go ahead and check the oil. I'm hoping that it's all fine. I'm sure it is, but let's check it out. There we go. Well, I don't know if you can see, but that oil doesn't appear to have anything in it except oil. Well, that's a nice thing. That's good. It smells good. It looks clean. Let's have another look at it. There we go. It's a little over full. I don't smell any gas or anything in it. We only put 2 quarts in it, but I'm sure that's fine. I didn't see any issues with any, you know, oil spitting out everywhere, so I think we're good. And that oil, man, it's clean. So I would expect, after only one ride of about 34, 36 or so miles, that the oil would still be in pretty good shape. And it is. There's no evidence of water or anything else on it. Looks good to me. On to the next thing. Let's check out that power steering motor and see if it's still clearing the gas tank. I don't have any gas leaks, so we'll assume it's good, but we're going to have a look. So this is going to be a bit hard to see because we're looking kind of right back in there. And what I'm looking for is to make sure that there's still a gap between the bottom of the gas tank and the power steering motor. It looks like there is, but I'm also seeing some dripping, which wasn't there before. Now, to be fair, I filled up the gas tank on this earlier and I overflowed it significantly, sprayed it down with a little degreaser, and then, you know, water. So there's all kinds of gasoline, degreaser, water mix. But anyway, I'm going to see what that dripping's all about. I'm hoping that it's not the bottom of the gas tank. However, it shouldn't be because it didn't show any signs of doing that until right now. That should just be leftover water and stuff dripping off of things, but we're just going to check it out because I'm a little bit concerned now that I see something dripping. I've got an update for you. The plot is thickened. Yeah. In case you can't tell, I've had to take the front of the plastic off this thing and the gas tank because it just kept dripping. And it appeared to me like it was dripping from the place I was afraid it was rubbing on the power steering motor. In all actuality, it was because I overfilled the gas tank and the gas was coming out of, you know, the vent. And the vent tube runs down inside the steering stem, and it was dripping in there around the top of the power steering motor and flowing right to the place where it would have been rubbing the gas tank if it was rubbing. However, it was rubbing the gas tank, but not enough to cause a hole, and let me show you. You might be able to see right here, there's a little bit of a scratch, but that's it, no leak. But here's the thing, if I had not overfilled the gas tank, as I sometimes do, if I had not overfilled it, it wouldn't have gone down the vent tube, but it wouldn't have just kept on dripping and make me take the gas tank out. And I'm glad I did, because now I can actually get back down in there with a little bit of a die grinder and clean up or round off the edges of the power steering motor that are causing it to leak. Let me show you what I'm talking about there. So if you look down in here where it's rubbing, it's right there. Just that edge right there. We're clear here. We're clear down here. We were just rubbing right there and just a tickle. Just a how you doing, enough to put a scratch but not go through it yet. So I'm going to go ahead and get a die grinder on that, round off that edge. And there's another one right above it. I'm going to round that off too, just to be safe. I don't want to do this again. Taking this gas tank out, well, it's not easy. It's not hard, but it's not easy. It takes some time, and I was not planning on this time today. Anyway, the other thing I'm going to do is replace the petcock valve. You know, that thing. I bought another one. Don't know why I never put it on, but those things, if you touch them, they leak for some reason. So I've got a brand new one. We'll put that on as well. But let me get you set up over there. We'll get to grinding on that piece of metal. Okay. So I'm going to try to reach in here, grind off some edge there, and then some edge here, and try to do that without cutting this wire. That'd be fantastic. Oh yeah, that's working. That's pretty good. Now let's see if we can get this other one up here. A little bit more on that side. Yep, that looks good. I'm going to see if I can get a little more off that bottom one down there. I think that'll do pretty good. In case you're wondering what I'm using, it's just the glorified Scotch-Brite pad on the die grinder there. Let's see if I can get you in there for a little bit of a closer look to what we did. So we rounded off this edge right here, took the corner off, and did the same right here. That should allow the gas tank to fit back in there nicely and not have a problem anymore. At least that's the idea. I'm going to go ahead and set the tank back in there and catch back up with you in a moment after that's done, and we'll see if we succeeded, and then we can, well, put it back together from that detour and get back to what we started the video doing. All right, well, you can see we've got the gas tank back on and it's hooked up. New fuel valve has been installed, you know, sort of here. And I am happy to report that we are no longer really even close to touching the power steering motor with this gas tank. So I think we did a good thing. I'm glad that we pulled it. But anyway, let's get into the whole reason why we're doing all this, and that's we're going to replace the starter over there. And I'll just set you over there and we'll get started, and we'll just forget that we had about an hour and a half or so detour and messing with something that we shouldn't have had to mess with. But had I paid attention better when we were putting it together, we wouldn't have had to mess with it. Anyway, let's go ahead and do this right now. Okay. So I think we're going to have to get this brake lever out, which is just a spring, a cotter pin, and a spring. I mean, maybe we don't. Maybe we can just get, there's a bolt under there. We might be able to get at it without doing that. Anyway, these look to be 10mm bolts, so we're going to go ahead and snatch them off real quick. Well, these bolts, they're not looking so hot. There we go. This is just a plastic, I think it's just a sound cover. Does this plug right here have to come out? Can't imagine so. There's nothing else holding it on. I guess let's take that out. I can't imagine that holding it in place, but it's an awfully big Allen. Okay, well, apparently that did hold it in place. Okay. Why is it so crispy? Okay. Well, shoot, that doesn't even hold that on. We could have left that on there. Interesting. Still don't know what the purpose of that is, other than inspection. Okay, and then we have two more. I believe it's just two more to get this side cover off. Yeah, where'd the thing go? Here it is. Nice thing is all of these bolts are the same length, so you don't have to worry about keeping them, in a certain order. There we go. Thankfully, this is coming off nice. And also, thankfully, this O-ring didn't tear itself up, because it's going to want to set back down on here. And I'm glad it didn't want to tear itself up, because we didn't buy another one. And also, this is nice and clean. Oh, this thing is ruined. Yeah, that Bendix is ruined. All right. I was watching a video of somebody doing this exact job on the same exact machine, and well, this was all rusty in here. What a mess if that's all rusty, right? But this is a mess right here. That thing is not good. Okay, so a couple of things. We need to take the starter off from the top side, and then we're gonna have to get a flywheel puller to pull that flywheel off the crankshaft there. All right, so to remove the starter, we've got an electrical connection there, and that's going to be of some particular size. I'm going to guess another 10 millimeter. Groovy. Okay, what else do we have? That's our positive to battery. We've got a bolt here and a bolt there. Probably both 10 millimeters as well. We'll just get something with an extension, them right off of there. There we go. Now, ideally, this should just come out. I said ideally, that should just come out. Maybe it doesn't yet. Okay. No, it should definitely be coming out, so we're just going to help it. There it comes. All right, and here is our old starter. All right, pulling that is a 21 millimeter nut there. That doesn't want to do it. More power on it? Nope, we got to go to a bigger impact. I'm sure this thing isn't needed, but we'll get it with this one. Very easily. Okay. And there it goes. And there's our magneto and the inside of our flywheel. I'm still kind of shocked at how clean all of this is inside. I was expecting a mess, but that's quite good. The other thing I'm looking for right here, I'm looking to see that that key is still there. That way when we go to put the flywheel back on, it'll line up properly. Well, I can't remember the last time I've used a puller like that. That was exciting. Anyway, now we can get this Bendix out of here. And I suspect issues with this, you know, because this thing just hangs up all the time. All right, before we get too far, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of grease on the new starter, you know, on this O-ring where it goes. I just think it's a good idea. Let's get some grease on there. Help that go in. Probably a little more than that. Okay, there we go. That seems good. Lovely. I'm also going to put a little bit on the back side of our new Bendix here around the shaft. There we go. That should be pretty good. So I think first I'm going to go ahead and put the starter back in, or the new starter in. I guess it's not back in. This starter hasn't been in yet. Come on, fit. Might have to tap that in from the back side. I like that it's a snug fit. It's kind of nice, I guess. There we go. Okay, and this one gets the ground strap. I'm a little bit afraid to go too tight. I don't want to break these bolts, you know. There we go. Lovely. And then back on this side, the Bendix should just kind of go right in there. And this one's not as wobbly as the other one was. It's got a spring there that seems to do springy things. Probably should put a little bit of grease on here too for where the case goes. But let's go ahead and put the flywheel back on first. Now, remember that key, it's down here. And if you look at the flywheel, you've got that keyway right there as well. So this needs to go on. Kind of, and it's magnetic, of course. So that makes it even more difficult. There we go. And that went almost all the way on. That's nice. I just need to put the nut and washer back on. There we go. Lovely. There's a torque spec on that, and let me go find it. All right, well, the torque spec for this is 58 to 72 foot-pounds of torque. Well, that's a pretty broad, You know, that's a big gap there, so I'm going to choose 60. And like I mentioned before, we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of grease on this shaft right here, because this actually sits in a place, whatever you call it, the cover. You know what I mean? Okay. I went to go put this cover back on, and well, this washer was sitting right there where that goes, so don't forget to not lose that. Let's put it on the Bendix. Okay. Clearly I've fixed the O-ring, it's back in there. And now we just put this back in place. And there it goes. Very easy to put that back. Okay. Now I'm sure I don't want to put much in the way of torque on these, so I'm just going to use the little 12-volt impact here. I think that's good. Okay. Lovely. Nope. Why don't you want to go all the way on there? There we go. There it goes. There we go. That's not so shabby. And now with the starter done, we're going to move over to the other side and do up the new belt. All right, so getting access to your clutch isn't typically too difficult. It's just all the little screws around the cover. Getting the belt off, though, can be varying degrees of difficulty. I've done this once on a Sportsman 500, same setup as this. I don't remember it being all that difficult. I believe I just kind of did something like this. And I'm trying not to pull this quad off the stand. There we go. And just an inspection on the belt, it really doesn't look bad. You know, like I said, I suspected it was slipping, but I don't see any cracks. It does look a little glazed around the sides where it actually grips. So that could be, neutral's nice and free, look at that. Anyway, does look a little glazed on the edges, so I think it's worth replacing, but I think it's also worth keeping this as a spare. What I've picked up to replace it with is this Gates G-Force Workhorse belt. OE number 3211091. Let's see if that's what's on the belt here. 3211091. Perfect. Now this doesn't have any arrows on it, but we'll just put the writing towards the outside. And I'm just going to kind of do the same thing to put it back. I'm just going to get it started like this and just turn it, I think. It may be a little bit more difficult because this belt, well, it's new and it's kind of stiff. Oh wait, this might work this way. And there we go. Apparently just had to spread the driven clutch a little bit and it just went right in. And now it's, well, it's got some play, which I'm pretty sure it needs to have that play. I'm gonna go ahead, get the front plastic gas tank, all of that put back together, mounted up, filled that back up with gasoline, put it back together. And I do wanna try to start it. We're gonna test the starter and we're also gonna leave the clutch cover off and make sure it behaves properly. Okay, well, we have most of it put back together. Of course, not the footwells, not the side panels, not the seat, mainly because we want to test out that shiny new starter that's back in there. And we want to have a look at that belt. So let's see how we did here. First, let's see if the starter is going to engage immediately like it's supposed to. Well, it did, but I suspect our battery is a little bit weak, but if you notice, it didn't spin, it just connected. Well, apparently we're going to do it again because it died. The starter does sound better. I don't know what that noise is. There we go. I think the starter sounds better. Let's have a look at this clutch thing here. Oh, that looks appropriate. Well, okay. I'm not mad at that. That starter does sound a lot better. Yep. Well, listen, I think that's probably going to do it for today. Obviously, we got to put the clutch cover back on, footwells, side covers, seat. All that's pretty easy to do. We just put the clutch cover back on, put the screws that go around it, and, well, it's back on there. And the footwells, well, you've seen me do that literally a million times, literally. I appreciate you hanging out with me today. We worked out quite a few of the bugs that we've experienced on this thing from the first ride, and I think it's going to be ready to hit out to King of the Hammers in a couple of weeks. So this weekend, we're going to be taking out, the plan is Brittany and Kyle, and we're going to roll out with Darth, Dusty, and Billy. Billy, though, well, we're fixing to do axles again. Okay, now I've done some reshuffling of the shop real quick. See, I moved Darth out of the way and I've got Billy back here up on the lift. And let me show you why I'm unhappy about yet the third set of axles that's on here. And well, just look at them. They've collapsed, the boots, and grease spewing everywhere. It's not much different there. If you come over to the driver's side, you know, it's just more of the same. Except that one, I think, didn't spew grease anywhere down there on the bottom, or the outboard joint, if you will. But you can see grease all up in here, and I've cleaned it already, and it's still got a lot of grease left. Additionally, when you're turning corners or putting any kind of movement on those axle shafts, they click, and they click loud and aggressively. I don't remember if we mentioned it at all when we did the first ride. Seth and I took it out, but yeah, it's aggressive. Clack, 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 clack. It sounds like a CV joint's bad. It's actually the splines from the axle where it goes into the transmission. They don't fit 100% perfect, and I actually think these axles, this is the second pair, so the original axles I still have in a box. Of course, they're fine, except the boots were destroyed, and I thought, let's just put new axles. So I put axles from the ECCPP brand from the eBay website. Thought they were supposed to be pretty good, and immediately they threw all the grease out, and they were clicking and clacking. So then I went with Caltric. So those rear axles are actually from Caltric, and I've had a lot of good luck with Caltric. You saw me put one in one of them old, I think it was the 97 Sportsman 500, the one I called Captain No Brakes, that came back, had been rolled, but more importantly, the U-joint had exploded. That axle fit perfectly except the axle nut, but we took care of that. And the front axles I've put in Ruby, are Caltric. The other axle brand I've had good luck with is the Nietzsche. You can get them on Amazon, eBay, wherever. I think they even have their own website. But for whatever reason, couldn't find them for the 700, the Nietzsche ones. And the Quad Logic axles, well, they're as much as Polaris brand axles, which is a lot. And I'm still trying to not spend too much money, but I need the thing to work. So we went from stock original ones, which I still have, and I want to rebuild at some point with new boots and grease. The joints are in good shape. I was able to get the old boots off there. Anyway, I'm rambling. Went to the ECCPP axles. The fronts are great, but the rears, not so much. Caltric, better. It didn't throw grease up on the lift, but it threw it all out when we were out riding it. So now I'm going to try another third brand of aftermarket axles, and this time I'm going with something called Sixity. Say that 6 times fast. 60. I can't do it, I'm out of breath. Okay. Anyway, Sixity. And apparently these are the XT series. I don't know what that means, but I guess we'll have a look and see what they do. How do you open? There we go. Yeah, that looks oddly like an axle. I'm going to go ahead and cut it out of there and have a look, and I guess we'll see what it looks like. There we go. Okay, what do we have in here? I mean, clearly what we have is an axle. Is it sealed on both ends? Well, yes, it is sealed on both ends. Oh, maybe it's not. Okay, let's put the knife down before we cause some damage with it. Well, this axle feels heavy and beefy, and we hope it fits. We've got a nut. Yep, I did see a new cotter pin. That's nice. Let's look at this end. Oh, they put some plastic on there to protect the splines. That was nice of them. These boots feel pretty good. I like the clamps that they're using. Are you even paying attention? All right. Fair enough, we'll just get to it. So I've gone ahead and put together a small selection of tools, just the things I know that I'm going to need to take the wheels off, pull the hub carriers off. I'm going to have to strap up the upper A-arms because they get in the way, and then yank the axles, put the new axle, all those things. So I'm just going to set you up on the tripod over there, put you on fast forward mode, because I think you've seen me do this about 1,000 times now. Maybe one of these days I'll stop screwing with axles. Probably not. Anyway, here we go. Well, I hope you all weren't too bored by that fast forwarding things. I only showed a little bit on the one side. Like I said, I've done it a million times in front of you. You're probably bored of seeing that. Anyway, It's back down on the ground. The new axles are put in place. Oh, let's get our light out of here. I don't want to leave that there. Let's let's ride it around the yard and see if we're still clicking and clacking on here. All right, turn the fuel on. Give us a choke. I don't care who you are. That starter and new battery, it just says kaplow. We're running now. Anyway. Well, I know it's awfully hard for you to see anything, but I don't hear any clicking, clacking. Engine's still cold. Let's put her back in low. Nope, I don't hear any. Well, you may have noticed me fighting with the gear lever, trying to get it back into neutral there. You know, in the last episode, we put that new Gates belt on there, and it's all there. I think we're gonna have to get that broke in. The idle might be a little high. I don't know. I don't know what the idle is. This gauge doesn't tell me. But I think the belt just needs broke in. Everything sounds pretty good. Most importantly, though, I did not hear those axles clicking and clacking as we were turning, so these axles might actually fit properly. I can never get enough of the way this thing sounds. Yep. Yep. Hey, how are you all doing? Welcome back to Good Germs Off-Road Adventures, and welcome back to Billy Badass. You know, when you're doing any sort of project, whether it's a car, a truck, an off-road vehicle like an ATV or a quad or a four-wheeler, or maybe even a side-by-side or UTV or Arctic Cat over there, you know, they're just never quite finished. Billy Badass here, perfect example. This brake reservoir, master cylinder, well, it leaks. And it's also this plastic design, which I'm not a big fan of, and eventually it's just going to quit working. So we're going to go ahead and replace this, change the grips out, because, you know, I may have broken this one when I was installing it. Maybe, and put some hand guards on it, but not the hand guards you would think. If you looked around the shop, you'd see all the other Polari, all of the other quads in here have the Polaris hand guards on them. Billy's going to get a little something different. Stick around. Here's a little closer look at this wonderful, not so wonderful brake lever master cylinder design. And it, you know, it's got a plastic lever. These things, I'm not a big fan. They're kind of a funky shape, but this unit, at some point, I know it's going to fail. Every machine I've had that had this unit on it, it has eventually failed. And when it fails, what usually happens is the lever becomes increasingly hard, if almost impossible, to pull it, and yet it doesn't stop the machine. So we're going to change this out for a different design. Now, somewhere around about 2007 or so, Polaris went from making their own brake master cylinder, their old brake assembly, and they went to the HB USA. I think it's HB USA. We'll find out in a moment. But they went to a different design, and it is much better. And you can see we're looking at Dusty here. We know that because it says Dusty right there. And you can see a metal lever. I think it's probably aluminum. Different reservoir. It's just a completely different design. These seem to be a lot more reliable and a lot better. The brake lever is a nicer feel. It's also a little longer, more leverage, if you will. But you know, those are expensive. They are, well, they're really expensive if you get the original part number. So I went on the Amazon website and I found this one. It's from a brand, I think it's called Mati. Is that what it says in the box? Yep. Mati. Stable Power Sports Parts Maker. Look, there's no confusion about what they make. They make stable power sports parts. Did it really say stable? Is that what it says? It surely does. It says stable. I've used one of their units on the 500 Sportsman I was working on not that long ago, Captain No Brakes. Of course, it was a different design. I went with the more OEM style design for that quad for the owner. He wanted it just back to normal. So I put the other design, and that one had a plastic reservoir and a plastic lever. But look, it worked perfectly fine. No issues putting it on, no issues getting them bled. They work good. So we're going to do the same brand, but this design, we're going to go put it on, which means we got to take the old one off first. First thing I'm going to do is just crack this banjo bolt. Is it a banjo bolt? Sure it is. We're going to crack it loose. We're not going to take it all the way off. I just want to get it nice and a little bit loose for now. Then of course I'm going to take these screws out. And these are a Torx T30, in case you're keeping track. Probably should have gone ahead and emptied the reservoir first, because that would have made a lot of sense, but apparently that's not the order we're going to do it in today. Nope, I want to make it hard for myself and have fluid going everywhere. Speaking of that, do not be afraid to go in the house, go into the bathroom, open the cupboard, and grab some bath towels, you know, in case you spill brake fluid on things. Brake fluid, it'll eat the paint right off of pretty much anything, so we're just gonna, obviously plastic isn't painted, but we're just gonna cover everything up here with one of the bath towels out of the bathroom. That'll be just fine. Okay, back to taking this apart. Okay. Yep, okay. And there we go. Point that upwards like that, so that way the fluid just runs all the way down. You know, and you can tell it's been leaking out of the top because all the paint's missing. Like I said, this stuff will just eat the paint off of pretty much everything. There we go. Well, I just went back in the house and took a Tupperware dish, and I'm just going to set this kind of in there for now and put it somewhere else. Slide our new one in here and go ahead and get that started. What's nice about this unit as well, when you face the reservoir straight up and down, it actually puts that brake lever at a nice little bit of a downward angle, which is just good for the ergonomical things. And I'm also not really going to tighten this up very much. Just want it to be on here for now. I'm not going to tighten it because we've got other things. Like I mentioned, we're going to be putting hand guards, and you have a mount that, well, there's various mounts, and we'll have to check that out. So I just want it to be enough to not move so we can do the bleeding of the brakes. I think that'll do for now. Well, it's still not very tight, and that's okay. This, we can just let that hang. We don't need to worry about that right now. Let's take the new banjo bolt out. And up here, We find that this is a Torx 20. They're not very tight because you wouldn't expect them to be. There's nothing in it. And there we go. Got it opened up now, obviously, because it's open. And we're going to put brake fluid in it, and we're going to proceed to bleed this in a fairly easy way. Now, Polaris doesn't take any real fancy brake fluid, just DOT3 is good enough. I'm going to put my finger over the hole here, and I'm just going to fill the bowl. And I didn't think this through because what I need right now is a rag. That's fine. Now they make kits that you can do to make this easier on yourself. I probably should have picked up a kit, but I don't do this really all that often. So now I'm going to take another towel. I'm going to kind of drape it over the headlight here. I just don't want all the stuff shooting on all the things. Okay, so now I'm just going to pump the brake lever. You can see the bubbles coming up, and I can feel some pressure getting against my finger, so I'm just going to pump it, kind of let my finger off, finger back on, do it some more, and I can feel pressure, finger back on. The key is I don't want air to come back in the bottom when I let my, when I go to cycle this thing. And you can see we just squirted some brake fluid. Like that. There we go. We're squirting it everywhere. That's great. There we go. I think we're pretty well bled now. So now I'm going to reach around the backside, take this, plug it in, just get it started. That's great. And then of course, because what we're putting on is made in an Asian country, it's a metric size. This one happens to be 12 millimeters. And I'm going to get this good and tight because I want to make sure those copper washers seat nicely. And now I'm going to get some brake cleaner and clean all the mess off. Shop grade Windex to the rescue. Okay. Groovy. And that's pretty much it for installing this. Let's put some more fluid back in here. And I don't have it sitting perfectly flat, so it's kind of not lovely. Can I make it flatterer? Nope. That's just going to be what it is. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on for now just to kind of seal it up so we can move the quad-rungs. We need to jack it up so we can bleed the brakes. And also I'm going to need to reset this lever so it's more level. Okay, it's not very level because I've got it pushed in kind of far, so we need to pull it out. And we just have stuff hitting stuff, which is why. There, let's set it there for now. Okay. And going up. We're going up now. Moving up and going up now. Oh yeah. Oh no, we're gonna fall off the front. Hold on, let's redo that. Oh no, what has happened? A tragedy has befallen me. Okay, here we go. Try it again now. Well, why does it keep wanting to fall off the front? Try that again. Do I just not have a good grab on it? That's what I think. Let's try it there. That seems awfully far forward, but whatever. Okay, try it again. Here we go. Coming up again. There we go. Moving on up now, come on. Oh yeah, all the way, come on. Come on, there we go, all the way up. Let's put the safety lock on. There we go, lovely. Yeah. Oh, yep. Never mind the creaking and popping here coming off the lift. It's just falling, you know. Really what it is. Did you know you're supposed to bleed and fill the oil in these jacks these days? Yeah, I didn't either, but apparently you have to because it won't hold its own pressure, and I've got another jack that does the same thing that's pretty new. Anyway. Oh. Okay. There's brake fluid all over the floor over here. All right, so we've got enough tires off to be able to go ahead and bleed the brakes. Now you might want to be asking, hey Jezza, why'd you only take 3 tires off? Well, let me show you for those of you that don't know Polaris. I assume most of you watching probably do know Polaris, but for the 1 or 2 of you that don't, here you go. On the right rear or passenger side rear, you have the brake disc and you have a brake caliper, but if you look at the other side, you have neither. What Polaris has done, and they've been doing this for a long time, is they just put the brake on one side, you know, the axles tied together. It's a solid axle all the way across, even though you've got CV joints and they do the bendy thing. But you push the brakes, it happens here, and it stops everything on the rear axle. So we just bleed the brakes here, and then of course in the front, pretty much like you'd expect to do with anything else. So unless you have the proper tools, bleeding brakes, even on a ATV on the rear brakes, is typically a 2-person job. But I'm out here by myself, as I normally am, and I've come up with a method to be able to do it by myself. It's a little bit funny to watch, but here's what we do. So first you can see I've got a little catch can hooked up to the bleeder valve, and my wrench is already set on there, and I've already broken the bleeder loose just to make sure it was going to do that. And I've also already determined which one of these 2 bleeders brake lines it's going to be, And I know it's this one because it's attached to this brake line, which then comes up here, shoots across the side of the ATV quad four-wheeler, goes on up to the front and finds its way up to there. The other one back here just kind of goes there, goes to the foot brake. I'm not worried about that. So anyway, this is all set up back here. I've got the handlebars turned kind of funny. Now with this, unfortunately, I can't fill this all the way to the top, and I've got the cap on it for now. So basically I put one hand here where I can reach the brake lever, right there. And then I reach way down here with the other hand, and I kind of lean down so I can look, and then I can operate that wrench. And well, that's just sort of how I do it. It's not the best, but it works. Okay, well here we go. Let me reach down here, get a hand on this, grab the thing. I'm gonna do pump, 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 hold it, open it. Yeah, there we go. Pump, 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 hold it, tighten it, let it go. And that hose looks like it's coming off already because it didn't fit wonderfully on there. And I don't want to leave it just off. We'll be squirting it across the shop there, and I don't want to do that again. Pump, 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 hold, loosen, tighten. Okay, I'll do this one more time, and then I'm going to fill the reservoir back up. And look, that's just a rinse and repeat job. You do that, and of course we didn't get air at first because the air we introduced is at the very top. So we're going to do that until we get clean fluid, air bubbles out, and then we'll move to the front, and it's just the same thing all the way around. And just there you can see we got some air now. And I like to do this till I have several times of doing this without getting the air bubble. Okay, we've had like 3 or 4 in a row with no air. I'm going to give it one more and then we'll call it good. Yep, that looks good. And you can also see the color of this fluid's a lot lighter than it was before, and that will tell you you're getting fresh fluid now compared to the dark stuff we were getting out earlier. Now the process for bleeding the brakes in the front is shockingly exactly the same. I know that doesn't seem right, but trust me, it is. Now I started in the back because you're supposed to start the furthest from the master cylinder, and then I'm going to do the left side front and then the right side front. The fronts, it really doesn't matter because the lines are exactly the same length coming off of a T valve thing. Look, as far as starting the furthest away, that's just what the book says. That's what everybody online says. So we'll go with it. I don't know the reason for that or if it's true or not, but I've been doing it that way and never once have I had a problem. So we just do it the way that we assume is the right way. Anyway, I'm going to do the fronts. Probably don't need to see that for a second and a third time. Catch back up to you when those are done. Billy's back on the ground with all the wheels installed. So next, I think we're going to go ahead and get into the grips. Now, in one of the videos, when we were trying to finish this project up, I was putting these nice ODI grips on, and I really like these grips. I may have gotten a little impatient with the left grip. It may was been a English. May have been a little tight trying to get on there, and I may have decided to take one of my orange dead blow handers and whack the end of it a bit, and it may have broke. It seems like that might be it. That is definitely not it. We are not all the way on yet. Oh, and my towel is leaving lint, and it actually is cutting that up a bit. And you can see because it's just kind of hanging here. There's a plastic sleeve inside of here that makes it nice and tight. Well, it's just doing this. Not happy with that at all. So I'm going to change them. And unfortunately, I did not get the same grips, mainly because I wanted to get this done and they wouldn't be here for like a month for whatever reason. So I got a different style of grips. They're ODI, but they're different. Let me get you set up. We'll get these off, show you the new ones. All right, this should be, I don't know, it's like a 3mm Allen, 2.5mm, I don't know. It's an Allen wrench down here on the clamp. It's fine. There we go. Like I said, I'm really kind of bummed. I really, really like these grips, and I'm really irritated at myself And I'm really irritated at myself for just being impatient. Instead of figuring out why on this side it didn't want to go on, I decided to just whack it with a hammer. And now I can't get it off. Let me see if I can spread that clamp a little bit. Yeah, it's not even the clamp that's holding it on, really. Yeah. I've got the clamps nice and loose, but that doesn't want to come off. Well, can I use the screwdriver? Should I use the screwdriver? Oh yeah, that is working. Probably not the best idea to use my headlight / ignition / yellow button switch, but you do what you got to do. Oh, and be careful not to tear your hand up. It is coming. Why is it so tight? I don't know. That's why I beat it on with a hammer and broke it. Yep. Man alive. Well, there we go. Ooh, it's hot now. Goodness. I think I'm going to get a Scotch-Brite pad and, give it a how you doing. Okay. Just in case there's some extra debris on there. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to get this off because there is a flange that is attached to the side of this, and that flange is designed to keep this ignition headlight switch thing in a specific alignment with the old style brake lever. Well, we don't have the old style brake lever, and now that flange is in the way, so we're going to get rid of it. So we need to unplug the connectors. That's easy. Then in this hole, which sometimes this hole will have a plug on it, you can pop the plug off. There is a Allen set screw. This is a 1/8 size, in case you're wondering. Well, we don't want to tighten it, we want to loosen the set screw. And this set screw just kind of goes right into the handlebars. And then now we can take this off. And then now we can get this little plate off, and see this just lines up on a groove, and you can position it on different places in the groove, but this notch is designed for the old style brake lever to put it in a specific, we don't need it anymore is what I'm saying. Okay, now that we have more of this exposed, let's just take the Scotch-Brite and try to clean up more of it. Just, a little bit. That's fine. Now I mentioned that we're going with ODI grips again, but this time we're going to go with these lock-on grips ODI Extreme. Different grip pattern, same nice pliable soft material. Red end caps because that's what they had, but the red should be fine. We've got some red on the quad here, like right there. These are lock-on both ends, so here and here. All right, so I'm just going to slide this thing back on, just shove it over there. Now for assembling the grips, you've got, I don't know, it looks kind of like that, and it does say Made in USA, which is kind of neat. I like that. This part goes facing down, especially on the thumb throttle side. Doesn't matter so much on this side, but we're going to do it anyway. Goes facing down, so we're going to line up these with the holes there and just kind of pop it on. Pop it on. Oh, click. You heard it on the camera. Click. Popped on. Okay. And for the other end, it's more of the same, but we have the neat little ODI name tag, and it just clips in, just kind of snaps in there at the end. We have the same things here, so we're going to pop those on as well, like that. And this should be ready to install. Hopefully it slides on a lot better than the old ones did. And it did. That's nice. And because we're clamped at both ends, you can see it shoved this over a little bit further, but I do believe we might be all the way on. Hard to say. Let's loosen the brake thing up a little bit and see if it'll move inboard a little bit. Oh yeah. Slide that in, see if this will go on anymore. It did. Okay. And then from here, it's as simple as we just tighten up. We just install the Allen screws and tighten them up. It does not come with an Allen wrench, but it takes the same size as the one we just took off. Or no, it doesn't. It takes a smaller one. Goodness gracious. Well, where did I put the Allen? Here they are. Okay, so it's even smaller. It's a 2.5 millimeter size Allen wrench you need for these. That's fine. So where is, oh, it's over here. Oh, I guess that makes sense. Okay. There we go. That's nice. And now we can bring this up against it, like so. Find the right wrench, whichever one it was. This one, yep. And we'll just tighten it back up. That's not the right wrench. This is the right wrench. Okay. Yep. Probably don't need to overdo it. Just do it enough. Perfect. And now we'll just do the other side. It's exactly the same. We have our new grips installed. We've tightened up the switch. I have not tightened up the brake lever yet because we still may move it. We'll see. And then of course on this side, the throttle, I had to just loosen it up, move it in. And I haven't tightened it up yet for the same reason that I didn't tighten up the brakes, but that looks good. And that is fantastic. Now, I promised y'all hand guards, and I also promised y'all that they would not be the Polaris hand guards like this. Now, I've got nothing against those. I like the way they look. However, you know, we've done some custom things on Billy here with the shift lever from Kimimoto and the Rock Tricks wheels and the big gun pipe. That's probably it. But anyway, we've done some custom things, and I figured, well, if we're going to put handguards on it, why don't we do something nice and special and custom there too? So this is what we're going with. We're going with the Power Mads, man. So these are the PowerMad Sentinel handguards. I got the all black mainly because I don't have a gray one. It would be really cool if they had a gray with black, but they don't. They have a red with black, but there's not enough red on this quad. I figured this probably is better. It says the vent cover snaps out right here. Probably no need for that. And rumor has it that the Polaris handguards are actually made by PowerMad. I don't know if that's true. I'd like to think it's true, so we're just going to pretend it's true and move on. It's oddly warm today in the garage. It's like 80 degrees in here, and I've got the big door shut because, well, the neighborhood's noisy today, and the light gets thrown off, and, well, I just didn't feel like opening it, so it's a little warm. So we just want to make sure that we're staying hydrated. Now, for mounting the handguards, we have a couple of options. Option A, we go with the Polaris handguard mounts that fit this style brake lever. Those are the same handguard mounts we would see on Ruby Sue, Darth, and Dusty. And they will fit, of course, now that we've changed the brake lever on Billy. Or we can go with the PowerMad handguards mounts for the Sentinel handguards mounts. Must be a Friday. Anyway, but both of those are expensive. You know, the Polaris handguard mounts, they're like $50 for the mounts, and the PowerMad mounts, they're like $50 for the mounts. And, well, that's a lot of dollars for handguard mounts. But I found, I know it's going to be shocking, I found basically knockoffs of both of those on the Amazon website, and we're going to see which ones fit. Maybe it might end up being a combination of both. I don't know. Let's check it out and see. Okay. So first, from the brand that we saw earlier, Imadi, we have the mounts that look just like the Polaris mounts. So this would be the one that goes around the brake master cylinder. Sort of in a this way sort of fashion. Pretty neat. And then of course this is the one that would go on the throttle side, and it just goes, you know, this goes under the throttle mount, and anyway, and it comes with the necessary hardwares. Then in this side, we have the knockoffs for the PowerMad mounts, and of course we get all the hardware. You get spacers, so you can actually move the handguard in or out, like left or right, if you will. And then you have the mounts again here. Now these are a little different because they require space between things. It needs like a ½ inch of space here, and this can mount on the top and go over the brake lever. It can go on the bottom, go under it. So on this side, it would probably go better here, but that would require us to have to move this in a, you know, in a that way kind of direction. And then on this side, kind of the same thing. It would probably mount best, you know, on the underside, but again, we'd have to mount it pretty far inboard, and it might fit there and then come out, and then we can do what we need to do. So I don't know which one's going to work, but we will try them. I think the first thing I'm going to try is probably going to be maybe the Polaris mount, because I don't know if I can get this brake lever to scooch inboard another ½ inch or so that it needs to in order to fit that. So I think we're going to try first the Polaris mount and see how that does. Okie dokie. I think we need, is this the right? Sure it is. We need to take away these bolts or screws, fasteners if you will. Give it to me. Give it, there we go. Stay, do not fall. I'm going to attempt to reuse them. This takes the place of the upper mount, and it looks like that might go deep enough to catch some threads. I don't know, I guess we'll find out. There's a very specific reason I'm going to attempt to reuse these, and that is that the screws that came with this that they want you to use, I think, are probably ¼ 20 threads, and these I think are 6mm threads. They're different threads is what I'm saying. Okay. And maybe they don't even line up. I don't know. Oh, maybe they do. Okay. Oh. We got the one started. Can we get this one started? Yeah. There we go. That's pretty good. And then let's bring it in. Yeah. Let's leave it alone. Let's not tighten that up too much. Just leave it be. And let's see if we can make a handguard fit. Where did I put the handguards? Oh, they're over here. So then we have our handguard, and we can move this in and out. The problem is, see how wide that is. And with the Power Mad ones, we've got a channel that this would go in. But it can do the same thing. It can move in and out. So we should be able to accomplish kind of the same sort of deal. I think there's a bolt that this one comes with, and we can move it in and out with spacers. I don't really know. Interesting. Well, that might do it. Is there instructions? There's probably not instructions. Why would there be? No, there's a card. Oh, there's some stickers. I like stickers. That's neat. But there's no instructions. Okay, that's fine. We don't need them. We'll make it up. So I think most likely what we're going to end up doing is using the Polaris style mounts with Power Mad hardware. And I guess there you go. So we've got all sorts of different, we've got some long bolts, and I think these probably go, oh, I just dropped something, through like that and through there, and then we can use spacers to figure out how far in or out we want it. Oh good, I didn't lose it completely. Let's just put all the hardware here on the seat, so it'll roll off and we'll lose it all. Yeah, maybe a tray. A tray's a good idea. Okay. These spacers are neat. Gonna need those for sure. Okay. Width-wise, this is about the same width as this thing. So a hair wider, so it probably will suit us quite well. Okay, now, like I was saying, we just need to figure out where we want this. And somehow make it work. So we can move it in and out. I kind of like it right about there, or just a hair off of there. So how do we do that? Well, let's see. What if we do big spacer, a big spacer, let's grab a little spacer, start feeding that through here, a little spacer, kind of like that, and then like that. How does that seem? How many little spacers? Oh, we have plenty of little spacers, so we can add another little spacer somewhere. Because that, I don't like that as much. I feel like I kind of like it right there. So that would be a little spacer on that side. Okay. Do it like this, so when we pull that out, we don't lose that little spacer. And can I have it back? And there we go. So it's big spacer, little spacer, kind of put it through there, and then another little spacer. What's nice is you get 4 of each of these sizes of spacers, so they must have imagined we were going to put it on a Polaris. I'm sure they did not. Okay, little spacer. Get in there. Oh, it's a nice snug fit. That's good. Perfect. Oh, that fits. Look, that looks and fits good. Okay, now we just probably need one of these washers that I just dropped. Where did it go? Good grief. Oh, here it is. Lovely. Let's just tip this down and you can see what we're doing. We're going to put a washer. Probably should put the bolt the other way. I don't care. It's fine. And the nut. And then we can just tighten that up. Well, I know it's going to be shocking, but it's metric and it's 10 millimeters. Let's tip this up to where we like it. Let's make sure we break it. We still need to tighten it more. Let's get, nope, where's my, here it is. Let's get this tightened up now. Is that good? Seems good. Yeah. Okay. And let's finish tightening this up. You know, these ratcheting wrenches, they're pretty handy for many things, and you can buy them at any store that sells them. Well, that looks pretty dang good. Let's go do the other side over there. All right, on this side, I think I am going to go ahead and use the Polaris mount again. I think it just is probably going to work better than the PowerMad mounts. So first things first, we're just going to go ahead and finish taking off the strap that holds the throttle where it is, which is just these screws, and they're oddly a Phillips number 2 head. Ow, my finger is stuck. Give it. Okay, got it. And then this just kind of takes its place and goes there, and you have the same kind of deal here to mount it with. And it comes, these come with the hardware, but it's not a Phillips anymore. Now it's a Torx, whatever number this is, 20. That's fine. I don't remember the factory Polaris ones, if they come with the ones that are Torx like this, or if they come with Phillips. I don't remember. It doesn't really matter, does it? Because it's not what we're putting on. No, it does not. Okay, let's just finish up here. Oh, don't drop it. Okay, that's fine. We can go ahead and tighten that right now, I think. Try to tighten it somewhat evenly. That'd be swell. Unfortunately, those screws just go into plastic, so you don't want to give it everything. Okay, the other handguard. Honestly, I think we can do the exact same spacing here, where it's big, big, little, and then little on this side. I think that'll work just as good. Yeah. Ah, yes. Lovely. And washer in the nut. You know, back in my racing days, I had my Suzuki LTR 450. And I used to run PowerMad handguards on it as well, so I remember this process, and I remember liking it pretty well. And I'm looking for a 10 millimeter deep socket right now to make my life a little easier, and I can't seem to find it, so I'm just walking away from the camera rambling as I look for a socket. Yeah, that's what's happened. Huzzah. Where's the ratchet? Okay. My tools are kind of scattered everywhere. I'm in the middle of a couple of different projects right now. Well, that's tipped as far up as it can go, but it seems to be correct. Okay. So anyway, I think I was just talking about, I used to run the Pyromads when I was racing. If I got a picture of that, I'll show it. We'll see. But that looks pretty good. That's another handguard finished. Now, let's have a look. See if we like it. Oh yeah, look at that. I like it. I am happy. They're a bit different than the factory Polaris ones. They're a little bigger, honestly. I think they'll be a little bit more protective. A little bit different shape, little space age. It's like little spaceship pods hanging out on the end of the handlebars here. Coupled with the new, ODI grips, new brake master, completely bled, ready to go. Yep, and then these apparently pop out. I don't know why you'd ever do that, but that's fine. Yeah, I'd say I like it. There's only one thing left that we're going to do today, and it is an important step to this process. Lovely. Well, viewers, as you can see, the wife, she's ready to go. Well, thank you all for tuning in as we spend some time with Billy Badass. I was going to name this video Getting Technical with Billy. That would be in reference to the highly technical terrain that we were riding on. But as I was watching the footage back as I was, editing, realized most of the terrain was really not all that technical, a bit more mild. So we're just spending time with Billy Badass. Anyway, this is going to be a no-frills video, no fancy edits, no music, no intro, no call to action, just a little thing in the bottom. Anyway, we're just going to go riding, enjoy some scenery, some noise, some chit-chat and things like that. Hope you all enjoy. Viewers, you may also notice I don't have a camera pointing back at my face right here, and that's because Billy vibrates a lot. These 600, 700, even the 800, the twins, they vibrate quite a bit, and it just doesn't work well with the cameras. So you just don't have to look directly at my face. That's okay. I'm not on the trail I want to be on. The one I want's over there. Can we get there? Oh yeah. Just go through here, a little bit right there. There we go. Made some dust. Lovely. Be careful at the top, please. Watch out for that pipe coming out of the ground. Do I want four-wheel drive? Yeah. Do I want low? Sure. Not yet. Hold on. Huh, What's up here? There's a trail. Let's follow the trail. Oh yeah, like I said, she's a pro. And well, viewers, while Darth is, you know, at home, being broken down, not proving a good case for the reliability of the 570s, mind you, this was a pretty good opportunity to bring Billy out and put it more through the kind of paces of the kind of riding we like to do sometimes, through all the rocks, the technical stuff. You know, on the first ride, the test ride, we didn't do anything like this. It was all, you know, pretty much smooth riding. Pretty much rode like this all day yesterday without any issues, which is good. Didn't film any of it. Don't know why. Ooh, we're crossing what appears to be the race course. Again, well, I'll tell you what, let's make a left here and just go exploring more. Or Jackrabbit. Whoop, bush. Anyway. Cool thing about riding out here in Lucerne, you can cut across the desert and eventually you'll find a trail, or it'll find you. You can also ride either up or down a wash, same thing. You'll find a trail or it'll find you. Case in point, but we're gonna go up the wash and see where it goes. Let's go this way. Well, that would have been a trail that goes up there. Does this lead into another one? I don't know. Looks like, for quad's sake, this could be a dead end. No. Yeah, wife's pointing out some trails over there. Let's go have a look and see if we want to drive on them. The engine braking on Billy is quite aggressive, I must say. Oh, it's race course. Oh, once again, of course it's the race course. All right. what is this? Now, let's have a look and see what this is going to take. Right. So this is definitely a four-wheel low. Now, for you viewers, what that means for Billy here is it's 3.5 wheel drive low. Low range works. The front diff, I think it's the left front, is intermittent. It's fine, but we're just gonna shoot to the right and loop it up over. The key here is gonna be momentum. Don't stop, don't stab the throttle. And do sort of. There you go, stay on it. Yeah. Like a pro. Oop, I almost fell down. Here we go. And you keep to the right to avoid that severe off camber happening right there on the left. A little bit of off camber here. And then once again, stay to the right. Get over this rock. Keep staying to the right. And here we go. Now we're up and over the top. I'm gonna stop here. Make sure she's a pro. She's right there. Look at that. Put it back in high. Put it back in high. Turn off the 4-wheel drive or 3.5 wheel drive and continue. Oh yeah, back in the rocks. I love the rocks. Now, I guarantee you, I don't love the ride that I'm getting out of this thing right now. I'm not gonna lie. My ass kind of hurts a little bit. The seat's not as nice. The seat on the 570 is lovely. Oh yeah, I remember this from yesterday. Well, the bit's of plastic, but it's got this mine thing. And I wrote up there yesterday, viewers, I'll put that in, but this is pretty interesting. Until yesterday, I had never known that this existed, and it's clearly been here for a very, very long time. Just not a trail I've ever been on until yesterday, out of my 25 years or so of coming out here. Anywho. Ow. I actually see our tracks from yesterday. want to see where that wash goes. Let's turn around and go do it. That way. Ooh, prickly bush. That was a big old horny toad. Wow. Yeah. Left. Yeah, buddy, more technical. I'm going to drop him into low. It's too late for you. Good job, though. All right, viewers, here's the thing. This should have been a low-range four-wheel drive crawl fest. Tam up there on the 570 just said, nope, we're going to do it in two-wheel drive high. And we're just gonna fight our way up, and she did it well. She's done it so well, in fact, I've lost sight of her. There she is, way up there. So this is what it's like getting technical with Billy Badass right here. Well, you made short work out of that now, didn't you? Holy cow. Well, I'm going to attack this in too high on this thing that has no traction, so. That's not bad. You just have to remember where you want to back off. Just remember, no sudden throttle movements, keep it steady. Oh yeah. I don't know, that's a pretty neat view. I like it. But yeah. You pick. Down it is. Well, this is turning into an interesting ride. You don't have to go over, it goes around. Well, we're not the only ones to have this rock that I'm going over on my right. It has skid plate marks on it. We're gonna see what Tam thinks of old Billy Badass. Oh, I forgot how nice this feels. Yeah, the seat's slippery. Well, viewers, now that Tam's on Billy, she says she don't like it. Her words exactly, give me my quad back. Well, I hope you all have enjoyed getting technical with Billy Badass right here. I think we're going to check it out after we get it home, change all the fluids, and make sure that nothing is rattled loose, none of the bolts broke. Felt pretty good. The wife didn't care for it, though. Not a surprise. Anyway, she loves Dusty. Appreciate you hanging out with us. This was just an unfiltered, no intro kind of deal, getting technical with Billy Badass. Hope you enjoyed it. I sure did. It was a hoot. Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination. Welcome back to Good Germs Off-Road Adventures. Hello. I'm sorry for that intro, but you know what? Whatever. As you can see, we've got Billy Badass there. He's up on a lift, and well, a lot of the front end is missing and in a bin over there, and some of it's over there. And the reason for that is we're going to rebuild the differential in the front of the thing, and it's not really a differential, it's a front gear case. Yes, I'm aware it's not a differential, but we're going to rebuild it. And there it is. It's there, and it used to be there. And yes, it really is necessary to take that much stuff off the front to get that out. Where it sits is right behind the radiator, which sits right behind a bit of the frame. This bit of the frame, to be exact. This part, whoops, no, don't fall off the thing. There's the radiator. Had to take that out. The radiator's bigger than I thought, if I'm honest. Of course, the front bumper is there, and then, you know, the rack and the thing is there, and the axles, well, they're down there. Yep. And there's radiator juice. That's about half of it. The rest of it went all over the floor. That's why there's some rags and some dark spots. So some of you might ask, why would you want to rebuild the front gear case for Billy Badass on the 700 here? Well, if you watched the first ride video, there's a part where we climb a hill, and I discovered instead of being 4-wheel drive, it was 3.5 wheel drive, maybe 2.5 wheel drive. I'm not really sure. The left and right side kept going in and out on the front end, and if you know the Polaris, they're all 4 wheels engaged. When they're in 4-wheel drive, all 4, they're locked. There is no slip-in, no visco lock thing like you find on the Can-Ams. It is just locked. But not for Billy. Now, that may, or may not, have something to do, I'm sure it has nothing to do with when I was trying to get the old axles out, just beating the snot out of that gear case, trying to get the old axles out and beating on the cups where the axles go in and everything else. And there's typically a plastic cage in there that they're known to break if you abuse them. I'm sure it has nothing to do with that. No, and it probably has everything to do with that. So anyway, what we're going to do is go ahead and rebuild it. And, well, we've got the parts to do that, and we're going to sit down and do that. I'm going to go ahead and put on some gloves now, because I expect... Why did my phone just vibrate in my pocket? No. The Ring neighborhood stuff. It's ridiculous. Just put the phone over there. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put on some gloves for a couple of reasons. One, I've nicked my finger up pretty good trying to get the gear case out, and honestly, it's a little swollen. I'm not real happy about that. It's that finger right there. It hurts. Where was I? Gloves. Well, I don't know what's in here. It's already filthy on the outside. Don't really know what's in it. We're going to go ahead and get it apart. Parts. We have a brand new armature plate, brand new roller pins, rollers. Now these are from Caltric. We also have a brand new aluminum, or for those of you in England land, aluminium roller cage. You can get a plastic one if you want. And then this came from Eastlake Axle. This here is a kit of seals. These apparently are all the seals for that. We're just gonna put all this stuff over here because we don't need it anytime soon. We need to disassemble this. I have not yet drained the fluid. So what we're gonna do is pick this up, put it over here. Now preemptively, I was prepared. and I went into the kitchen and I borrowed one of the wife's baking sheets right here. So she uses this to make cookies and so forth on. And we're going to use this to disassemble this guy. So I think first off, we're just going to put this on here, and we'll start taking it apart. Today I'm going to go for an air-powered Ooga Dooga machine, mainly because I've been using the electric one so much that I just, the back. I just miss the sound of the air-powered Ooga Doogas. So that's what we're gonna do. These are 1/2-inch bolts. Is that a crack? No, yeah. There's a crack right here. Somebody's been in here before. I'll have to show you what I mean when we get there. I'm going to take that bolt out first. Well, that came out pretty easily. Yeah. Okay. I think I need something to pry on it, but this part right here, yeah, see, that's not good. That's been cracked. That tells me somebody has been in here before. It's not a great sign, not a great starting point. Anyway, let me find something to pry this open. You know, when I bought this quad, it didn't have much in the way of miles or hours on it. It's got me wondering how true that really is. That was part of the appeal of it. It was low hours, low miles, but I'm starting to wonder if it was run a lot, maybe with the some things disconnected. I really don't know, but I'm starting to slowly see here and there signs of it has more going on with it than you think. That crack is, or that broken bit. And somebody's been in there, I know, because there was silicone on it, which means we're going to put some silicone back on it when we go to put this back together. How does this... Oh, here it comes. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, this is the heavy side that has the ring gear on it. The good thing is there's an O-ring that would have kept that sealed. Yeah, that's the good news. This stinks. And there's some metal. I don't know, you can see that real good. Look at that. That's exactly why I went and borrowed one of the wife's cookie sheets. Those bearings on the pinion, those feel good. There's a bit of a thrust bearing in here, which is toast, and that's probably going to be a problem. I don't know if you can see that here. Right here, this is supposed to be a bearing, and it's, well, destroyed. That's probably something that I did to it. Here's the cage and rollers. And surprisingly, the cage is not, it's not broken. The rollers went everywhere. That's fine. There's a lot of them. We've got a new cage and rollers we're going to install. There's bits of that thrust bearing all over, and that's why I'm assuming we have all this metal everywhere. My question is, how does this ring gear come off to get to the armature plate there's bits in there we need to get to. But anyway, this is the inside of a Polaris thing. Here's the gasket for the main housing. Basically how this works is you've got this cage that sits in here with rollers, right? And the armature plate, you've got basically a little magnet in here. That armature plate will, when it's magnetized, it'll grab this roller thing, so when this goes to turn on it, it just locks in place. And it would turn on that because the rear axle was turning and the front wasn't, but you gave it electricity. And then I'm not describing it very well. There's other videos that describe how these work, but I'm actually really quite shocked that this is in okay shape. Huh. Usually these will be toast. Let's see how easy this comes off. Same size bolts, which is nice. And how do we get this off? I don't know. Well, there we go. Use the back end of the screwdriver because it's plastic. And why do I see silicone in here? People, stop it with the silicone. All right, just stop it. Why has somebody been in here already? Okay. There you can get a good shot of the bearing that this thing sits in, and that bearing's in good shape. It is smooth. It is smooth as a baby's hind end. So that's good. Now what? I don't know now what. Well, let me do some research, and I also need to get all of this cleaned up real nice, and I'll just catch back up to you when I've done some of that. Well, I don't know if I've been recording, but I'll see if I can catch you up on what I didn't record. I managed to get the ring gear off. This is the heaviest part. This thing is heavy. Managed to get the ring gear off. It literally just kind of popped off. Couple screwdrivers on either side, and it right there came off. Got down to the bearing on this seems okay. It's smooth, but I think there might be a bit of the thrust washer bearing needle bits in here. So we're gonna have to clean this. I don't really want to replace that bearing only because it's really difficult and it's actually really expensive. Down here, we've got our spacer, which, you know, rides sort of there. This had a couple of bits of the thrust bearing on it, but I've been messing with it when I thought I was recording earlier. And then the armature plate, it does have grooves on the back, but they're not, you can't feel them, you can only see them. So this is probably okay. Plus, the new one doesn't look like this, and it's not even the same size. So this here's the new one. As you can see, it's not, well, I guess it is the same size, but it's not exactly like the old one. Also, the thrust washer or thrust bearing, this is kind of what's left of it. And there was bits of it all over the inside, and I was able to get the inside of this case cleaned out pretty good. And you can see right there on that shaft where that thrust bearing was sitting, just kind of making a mess. A little bit of a gouge down in there. It looks like I see a chunk of metal, so more cleaning is going to be necessary in all of these parts to get them nice and clean before we reassemble. Now, obviously I don't have a thrust bearing, so I'm going to have to order that. I'm going to do some research on some different parts now that I have the model number off the case. The parts I ordered are for 2003 700 front gear case, but there's so many different models of these things from Polaris. You just don't ever know. So I'm going to clean these parts up some more. I popped the axle cups, you know, the output cups or output, whatever you want to call, out of the both sides of the case. And I found some more of our thrust bearing. I don't know if you can see all those chunks down there, but those are bits and pieces of that thrust bearing. That's not lovely. More cleaning to do and more research to do. The other side didn't really look like that. It was, you know, pretty clean. But these bearings, though, that does not sound lovely, and that also does not sound lovely. The only bearing that does sound lovely is the one on the pinion. But you know, that one was in a place where the bits of the thrust bearing weren't going to get to it. Anyway, like I said, I'll come back to you later. All right, folks. Well, it is a couple of days later. Actually, it's a lot of days later. And we found ourselves in a bit of a pickle, a dilemma, if you will. Let me explain. So here are all of the bits that make up our front gear case, front differential. I don't like calling it a differential, but you know. And, you know, the cage, excuse me. And, you know, the cage, which is what I assumed was broken, is the only bit really that's not broken. Example, I'm going to see if I can get nice and close to this bearing here and see if you can hear it. Well, it's really not that loud, but it gets caught sometimes as you turn it around, and it's not exactly smooth. There's a mosquito eater right there. Go away. And then we get to the bearings here. This one is okay. This one is not okay. Whoops, sorry, out of camera. This one is not okay. It's very rough and noisy, which you can't really hear it right now, but that's, you know, that's fine. Oh, wait, now it's stuck. There we go. And then add to that the pilot, or that cup right here is pretty chewed up for some reason. We know the reason. That's from beating on this thing with a hammer to get the old axles out. And then, of course, we had the thrust bearing. And that's all that was left of that. And bits of this thrust bearing went all over the insides of this gear case. So let's grab this side. And it's kind of hard to make out, but if you look carefully, you can see a bit of a glitter band in there. And this is where that giant bearing lives. It goes in there, but you can see it's got a nice healthy groove in there from bits of bearing. And then we have this case, which doesn't look bad here, except not all of the case is present. You know, we've got one of the ears missing there, and the rest of it is there. The ring gear itself, it's actually fine. And then the pinion gear, which is this guy, again, is fine. And this bearing's actually pretty good. That's because where this sits in the gear case, I don't think bits of the thrust bearing, the needles, found their way into this. And we know somebody's been in here before because there's silicone there. And there was silicone here, and there still is some right there where that ear was broken off. This bushing, it's fine. Let me see, that's a new part. And the armature plate, while it's grooved on this side, it's actually smooth to the touch. So I would say that this is actually fine as well. But herein lies the dilemma. There is a rebuild kit from Caltric that includes everything we would need. It includes this particular case side, because apparently it's common for these to break, I'm guessing. I don't know. It includes new ring gear, pinion gear, bearing, both of these things with bearings on them. It includes the thrust bearing, all the seals. It's about $240-ish. Oh, it includes a new aluminum cage, rollers, all the stuff we already have and don't need. The one thing it does not include is this bearing right here. In fact, this bearing appears to be unobtainium, meaning can't get it from Polaris anymore, can't find it on the Amazon website. I happened to find one on the QuadLogic website. Now, QuadLogic makes a kit that has everything we just mentioned except for the case, half that we need because it's broken. That kit is about $300. That case side that we need is about $100 and change, depending on where you get it from. So that puts us to rebuild this here front diff gear case at about $400 and some change dollars. That's a lot of dollars for a four-wheel drive system that doesn't get used all that much. And before you say, what are you going to do? Remove the four-wheel drive system? I am not. I'm going to do something a little different. So here's what we're going to do. I was nosing around on the Amazon website, as you do, and came across a bunch of these. You might be thinking to yourself, well, Jizza, that looks like a brand new gear case, and you would be correct. This is a brand new gear case. It is of unknown brand. Literally, we don't know what brand it is. It came from a place on the other side of an ocean. That's okay, because all of the parts that we would need to rebuild that also come from a place, the same place on the other side of the ocean. So let's have a look at this thing. It's the right shape. We have the wire coming out for the magnet. And the wire is sticky, but the wire has the right plug, so that's good. It has the right number of bolts. What appears to be the correct pinion gear mounting. The same play the original one would have, that's okay. I don't know what that does. It's also not on the original, this thing there, whatever that is. We have whoa, bump the camera. We have the vent here, for vent, ooh, there's gas in there, okay. We have the output shafts, of course. There's our fill plug, and our drain plug is back here. It's got some numbers stamped in it. That's okay. And we did cross-reference this with the actual model number listed here, 1341344. Looking to replace your unit, look for that model number. You'll probably find it. So all in all, this looks like it's pretty good. Now they've got a little judgment mark there because it has a warranty, but we don't know how good the warranty is at all. I'll put a link in the Amazon description, I'll put an Amazon link in the video description down below in case anybody wants this for their unit. But yep, this was $330 and it's complete. The only thing I don't know is what cage it has inside. So I'll be honest, there is a large part of me that kind of wants to open this thing up and see if they've put a plastic cage or an aluminum cage in this thing. So what do you think? Should we open this thing up, crack it open? I know it's got a paint mark. I guess first let's check the warranty and make sure we're not going to void any warranty. I don't know, I'm a little nervous. That does turn. How about the one on this side? Yep, that turns. Everything feels really, really smooth. That turns, feels smooth. Obviously, there's no oil in this. We will have to put oil in it before we put it in, you know, back in Billy over there. I say let's let it ride. We'll just install it the way it is. We'll put some oil in it, but we'll install it the way it is. Look, it'll either work or it won't. So these gear cases only take about 5 ounces or so of fluid. This fluid, and demand drive fluid. So what I'm going to do is overfill it. If I can get this off. There she goes. I'm going to go ahead and overfill it. And then I'm going to kind of work all of the... Does it have a gasket? Yeah, a metal gasket. That's fine. Anyway, I'm going to overfill it. And then I'm going to work this fluid all through the internals here, and then I'm going to stand it upright and let the excess come back out. Just want to make sure I get fluid in all of the places. That is going to be way overfilled. We know that because it's burping back out. It doesn't hold a lot, like I said. We know that that's way overfilled. That's okay because we're going to put the lid back on it there. Let's wipe that off. Yeah, put this lid back on it. Here. I think the original lid had like a rubber, bit of a rubber gasket on this particular spot. Okay. Well, let's just start turning stuff. Stand them upright. Now, one thing I've also done is I have made sure, excuse me, I have made sure that the splines for the axle, you know, where the axles go, that they are correct. I've taken the old axles, I didn't put them all the way in, but I set them in there and tested that out. And that was fine. I probably should have found something to set this on, because when I open that back up, it's going to leak out. Maybe we'll take this off now. We'll put it back on when we go to install it, so if we end up turning it around all weird, we don't spill it anywhere. That should have coated the ring gear nicely. Gets up in the Hillard clutches that are in here. Those feel nice. Okay. Let me find something to let that spill into. Now, I've got this big tub here, and I think this will work just fine. Let's put that over there. Can I pull it? Yeah, that's good. Let's put this in here where you can't see it. That's fine. There we go. And let's open this up, because remember, when you go to fill these, you fill them till liquid comes back out of the fill hole, and that's how you know they're full. And this being a new one might take more, I don't know. Oh no, it's over full. All right, that's enough. Okay. And it wasn't much that we were overfilled by. I don't know if you can see that. Just that amount right there. Stuff doesn't smell very nice. You know, let's put the lid back on this thing. Tighten this back up, and I'm going to want to clean this gear case off because I've now made it a bit oily. There we go. Very good. That does not smell good. And now one more thing before we install this. I want to put some grease here in the axle cups and on the shaft here for the pinion. Just makes things a little easier down the road. We don't need a lot, just a how you doing amount is all you really need. Like that's probably too much. That'll do. Go in here with some, and I'm going to put some grease on into the axles too before we stab them back in. That way, we need to take them out again. They'll come out. Yep. Okay. So now really all that's left to do is install that brand new gear case in Billy, which is right, well, he's right there. The trickiest part is getting that prop shaft that comes from the transmission, comes forward up to the pinion on the back side of this gear case. That's the trickiest part, is getting that lined up so you can put your roll pin in. And you kind of have to do that, get it set onto that shaft before you get it bolted down, and then do the roll pin after you get it bolted. Anyway, I have to move the quad. It may or may not have fallen off of the lift stand it was on, because all of that weight was missing from the front. You know, the front tires and axles, gear case, radiator, frame bits were all missing. So it got real light in the front, and I just went to move it, and it maybe have fallen off. So now it's being held up by a 4x4 piece of wood. The rear wheel's set nicely on the ground, but you know, we got a piece of wood there holding it up. So I need to get a lift back under this thing and get it moved without making a bunch more coolant come out. That's fine, we have towels. Anyway, don't have a lot of room because there's a wall there, so we need to move it a little bit. So I am aware that I've got this set up in a position that's not exactly easy to see, but it's the best I could do. Somebody left the radiator hose just dangling in the way. That's fine. There it goes. Now, is it lined up? It honestly looks like it's lined up. Well, that's neat. I think we've driven it too far in, but that's okay. We can move it. Yeah, that looks lined up. Now, I did also check the threads on the bottom of the gear case to make sure that they were correct for mounting purposes, and well, they're correct. So that's, you know, that's nice. Okay, mounted. All right, so now that we're mounted, kind of a little bit of a tricky bit is getting the roll pin set. So I'm going to get a screwdriver that is no bigger than the roll pin, and I'm just going to feed it through the hole. And that looks good as far as, it'd be nice if that wasn't just in the way. So then I'm going to take the roll pin, a drift, and an air hammer and try to get this thing in here. Oh, if I don't drop it. There we go. Now it should feed straight in. Now you can do this with a regular hammer too. Just an air hammer makes it real easy. Perfect. Lovely. Right. So from here, I don't feel like I need to show it all, the whole process to you. I'll talk you through it real quick. The front diff, it's back in. So now we need to run that wire right there that's got the connector on it, you know, the sticky wire that we don't know why is sticky. And it plugs in here. So it's got to come up there and plug in. And then we got to zip tie it to the frame like it was before. Then after we do that, we need to set the radiator back in. And then once we set the radiator back in, hook up all the hoses that we had to unhook from the radiator, and then plug in the fan control to the radiator, which is that one or that one. I don't remember, but if we look at the radiator, I'm looking at it right now. Well, one of them is the thermostat and one is the temperature sensor and one is the fan control. Doesn't matter which one is which because they can only plug into the places that they can go, you know what I mean. Plug all that in. This is the place where the voltage regulator is connected. It actually loops around down here where there's a bit of frame that goes there and attaches that bit of frame. Plug it in. I discovered when taking this apart, the positive lead to that voltage regulator was disconnected, which may be why the speedometer quit working right about the same time I installed those aux beam lights. That might make sense. So anyway, once all that is done, then we're going to come over to each side, put the axle hub end through the strut, gently tap it into the right there, the diff thing that we just put in, and then we will connect it to the lower A-arm, and then we'll connect the steering rod to it, and then we'll, on this side, put the brakes back on. Put the rotor back on. The rotor's right there, rotor and hub right there. And then we'll put the brake caliper back on, and on this side you put the speedometer sensor. That's this guy right here. It's just a Hall effect sensor, nothing special. And then on this side we do the exact same thing, except we don't have to connect the speed sensor. Now, once all that is done, then we need to refill the radiator with brand new coolant, because the old coolant was gross because I put it in a dirty, plus it's old and it needs new coolant. Anyway, we're going to put new coolant in it, fire it up, get it burped, and test out the new front gear case. So I'll catch back up with you when most of that is done. Well, hello. Listen, it's tomorrow again. Got most of the Sportsman 700, aka Billy Badass, put together last night and then kind of called it a night. And let me show you exactly where we're at. I guess I'll just start with this view. You can see the nice shiny new gear case differential up in there. Axles are plugged in. It's all hooked up. Frames installed again up here. Obviously radiator, all the electronic things are hooked up. And now it's time to fill the radiator back up. This is all I have of this, so let's just hope it's enough. I like to use this funnel here. You just kind of pour it in. Well, that's everything. It'll go down eventually. The idea is you're supposed to have more than that in here, so when you're running it, trying to burp it, it burps. Listen, I didn't expect to run out of coolant so quick, so we're just going to go ahead and start it and make sure we have four-wheel drive and or two-wheel drive We're just not going to let it get hot because I don't have any more coolant. I'm going to check just to make sure. Yeah, I don't have any more, so I'm going to have to get some more. But that's all right. We can go ahead and start it and make sure that we did the good thing. Now, it has been quite a while since this old dude's been started. Not really sure how it's going to react. But here we go. Starts up right away. This vibrating's going to get me. Oh, I tell you what, I never get tired of the way this thing sounds. Haha. Well, let's just go ahead and put it in low. We should only get rear wheels spinning. Okay, let's put it in four-wheel drive. See if we get them all. Wow. I do know that sometimes you got to put them in reverse. There we go. I just learned something right now too that I've never noticed before. I'm not sure if this has ever worked before, but check this out when you turn all-wheel drive on. So there's the switch. Check this out. It's got a light in there. I didn't know it had a light in there. I just put it in reverse and that light went out. Now if I push this, oh, it comes back on when I push the override. That's cool. Well now, it seems that our repair, meaning replacement, because it was cheaper to replace with a new one than repairing the old one, worked out pretty good. And I think that's going to do it. I had fully intended on honestly getting this thing fully assembled, but the way the front of this thing is made, you can't really put any of this back on until you've gotten the coolant situated there. You can't put the rack, anything, because this, you just can't do it. So, listen, I think that'll do it. And it goes to show why fix what you can replace. No, it should be why replace what you can fix. But in this case, we could have fixed it, but it made more sense to replace it. Yeah, sure. Perfect. Well, that's nice. Well, I think we probably need to get this thing sorted and back on its feet. And by this thing, I mean a Billy Badass. So I just need to put coolant in it. You know, if you watched the video from probably last week, we did a thing to it. What did we do to it? Oh, the front gear case. Yeah, we attempted to rebuild it and ended up just replacing it, but we had to drain all the coolant, so now I need to put coolant back in it, and we ran out of coolant, so yeah, we're gonna fill that back up. All right, so yeah, let's take the lid off of this, and we put some in there, ran out. Let's throw the lid, I don't know, let's put the lid over here. Ran out, and went to the O'Reilly today and picked up some more. Now, we don't race or anything fancy, and you know, we don't put a lot of stress on these. We're just going with press stone, whatever that is. Press stone, all vehicles, you know, stuff. So, quite honestly, we're just going to put a bunch in the funnel here. This is the pre-mix, ready-made, ready to use. That way I don't have to mess with mixing with the water. Now in total, the quad's only supposed to take about less than 3/4 of a gallon. But I don't know how much is left in it, but it just took more than half of this right now. All right, so it's not going to take any more than that. Let's give it a little extra. And then, of course, we need to start it, which, you know, I always look forward to hearing this old dude run. Sounds good. So we're going to set the coolant down over here. It's still bubbling a little bit, but we need to get this thing fired back up. Okay. Oh, I need the key. Let's get the key. So anyway, we're going to fire this up. And the way this funnel works is pretty neat. It holds the fluid there, and when it decides it's ready, it'll burp and it's fine. I imagine it's going to take it a little while to go ahead and warm up enough to suck down some fluid, so we're just going to be patient. All right, well, there we go. We've got the fan running. So that's good. The radiator is nice and toasty. This water's getting pretty warm. I think we're getting close to having this thing done. We're going to let that fan cycle off. But I think we've got this thing pretty well buttoned up. All right, the fan is turned off. So let's go ahead. I'm going to set this on here. Let's kill the engine. I just put this on there in case it wanted to bubble up. So we're just going to let that set for just a minute. Okay. How hot is that? Not too bad. So now we take the stick and we shove it down in the hole to kind of seal it there. We'll get our bottle of Prestone here. This is what I kind of like about this system, and you can get these Harbor Freight, any of the O'Reilly AutoZones, Advance, wherever you shop for things. Put it back on here. And then we can put all the fluid back that we didn't need back in the container. Lovely. Just set this over here for now. Okay. And then now we have a little bit of tricky business. We need to get this off, and I don't know. Oh, it's not too hot. Okay. Okay. Good. Good stuff. And then we can put this thing back on. There, is that on all the way? Yep. Lovely. Okay, well, with that out of the way, should be good to go. You just got to put the front end of this thing back on. That's just the front cover, you know, that goes here. The front bumper. And then, you know, whatever that is, the rack. Well, there he is, finally back down on the ground where he belongs. Listen, I don't know about y'all, but I'm real anxious to know if that four-wheel drive unit we put up in the front, I'm anxious to know if that thing works. So I'm kind of thinking we take this old dude for a rip just around the backyard. First, I think we need to see what it's like when we don't have four-wheel drive. Before we do any of that, though, we need lights. Oh, yeah. Okay. Back them up? Sure. Two-wheel drive. We should get some good wheel spin out of the back. Oh, yeah, I think we did. Can we turn it around? Okay, now for this test, we're going to engage four-wheel drive, and we're going to see if we get the front wheels to bite. I think we did, but I think we need to see that again. What do you think? Yeah, I agree. So I don't know about y'all, but I'd say the four-wheel drive is, oh, yeah, there's dirt all on the concrete there. That's fine, the dirt can stay there. But I'd say four-wheel drive's good to go. In my mind, that's enough testing. Whew, let me tell you, I've enjoyed working on this particular quad ATV four-wheeler. This has been a super fun project. Buying something from somebody, stripping it down, building it back a little bit better, and just having fun with it. And this thing is fun. You know, a little earlier this year, I went camping, took my daughter and some other members of the family out, and she spent some time on this thing. And this would be after, of course, everything that you've just watched. And she really loved it. But Seth and I kind of hinted to it in the first ride. It's a handful. It's quick. Top speed is not much different than, you know, Darth or Dusty here, but it gets there a lot quicker. And you know, it just kind of eggs you on. It's the guy in the bar that's just daring you to get in a fight, just dares you to get in a fight. And then when you decide to get in a fight with it, you realize that guy was twice your size and pummels you into the ground. And that's what this thing does. It just begs you to drive faster, ride faster. It's fun, it's loud, making all kinds of noise, it's tense, it's jittery, ride faster. And then it will quickly remind you that it's an 800-pound utility quad. And then you realize you're in over your head. Anyway, this project's been a lot of fun. The compilations, look, I appreciate you hanging out and watching them. It really means a lot to me. And I thank every one of you for your support. But with that, I think that'll do it for this compilation series, this 3-part compilation series. Otherwise, you would have been stuck with a 10-hour video. And I just wanted no part of doing that. So, y'all ride safe, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye now.